Are you ready to rock and roll?
I am. I've got my status.
Right,
I've got my status quo pose. I'm ready to go.
right, I'll do the countdown. Press the start button. I'll mute myself, and then it's over to you.
Fantastic.
3, 2, 1.
Good evening, fellow Earthwalkers. So tonight's show is all about spirals. I think we all know what a spiral looks like. I don't think there's any question about what a spiral is, really. But what I thought I would talk about is the kind of what the symbolism is all about, and different types of spiral. Because there are different types of spiral. And then I will talk about how we use them in our magic work, which is quite interesting. And as always, there are no rules. So you might be inspired to use them in a particular way in your magic work, just through something that I'm talking about. So spirals. Obviously, they're in nature. Snail shells being just one example. But I think, the kind of spirals that we see in the Celtic artwork were obviously inspired by nature, obviously, but they were recognized as symbols for the sun and the equinoxes, because obviously it's to do with the sun. But they are older than that, and I will get into that a little bit later. So a single spiral on its own, generally speaking, if it's one that goes diocil, which is clockwise from the center, is all about growth, expansion, the cosmos. Because even when you look at the Milky Way, what is it? It's a spiral. I love that. That's really cool. So when it comes to the other way round, the Widdershins, the anti-clockwise, I'll get on to that a little bit later. So the spiral is also a symbol of, you could either call it death and birth or rebirth. I think that's probably, for me, that's a better word. So the journey, it's like the journey that we take when we choose to incarnate here. Yeah. So there's a journey of connecting to the center of the spiral and then coming back out again. So it's that journey in the, who am I? I am. Yeah. And then that radiates out. Yeah. So bear with me. It's reconnecting. This is rubbish connection tonight. Okay.
Yeah, I think we lost a little bit of audio.
You lost me there. I don't know why it keeps doing that. It's very weird. I don't know if it's my phone or the weather or I don't know what it is. So, yeah. So you got the journey connecting to the I am, which then, ripples out, if you like. And I'll get into that in a minute, because what is a ripple? Okay. I will get onto that. So you've got spirals that move in different directions. Okay. So spirals have many layers, literally. Yeah. A spiral, if it's in, like when you see something like a whirlpool or a whirlwind, it has a quality that isn't flat, if that makes sense. Yeah. So it's not flat. It's not flat. It has depth. Yeah, that makes sense. So when a spiral is, and I'm talking drawing, the drawing of, yeah. When a spiral is drawn Widdershins, which is anti-clockwise, and it has very wide spaced lines, the meaning of that is that's the fullness, that's the full power of the summer sun, yeah. And what it is actually showing you is the path of the sun, yeah. So that follows. So it's going to be the wrong way around on the screen for anyone watching on YouTube. So Widdershins, it's going anti-clockwise, yeah. So it's following the path that the sun takes. Amazing, yeah. So if a spiral is drawn Diocil, which is clockwise, and it has quite tight lines, yeah, so they're very close together, that denotes the winter sun. So the fading strength of the sun in the winter, yeah, that reducing energy. You also have spirals in a lot of the Celtic artwork, but other areas on the planet as well, which I'll get into again. So you have something called the spiral occult. I can't even say the word. Oculi, yeah, which is the spiral eye. So in these spiral eyes, so this is how we know that this is older than, you know, Celtic artwork, yeah. So these spiral eyes are found in Paleolithic artwork. They're found in ancient Egypt, ancient Mesopotamia, ancient Indian artwork, in China. So depending on where this artwork is found, it means different things to these different cultures. So it could mean the cycle or the spiral of life and death or rebirth, whatever you want to call that. It could even, in some cultures, excuse me, symbolize the center of the universe. Now, that's an interesting idea all on its own. Like, if that's spiraling out, then it means it's constantly, bear with me, it's reconnecting again. Ugh, this is quite, there we go, I'm back. So I think I got to the universe. So if the spiral is symbolizing the middle of the universe, the center of the universe, then that means it's always moving, and it's always, depending which way it is turning, is it expanding or does it change and then contract? Interesting question. So this spiral oculi can also denote the third eye, which is obviously enlightenment. So it can, you know, if there's an expansion energy with that symbol, then that would definitely, that's an expansion of consciousness, which is enlightenment. It also denotes, this is really weird how this keeps disconnecting. Bear with me, guys. If you're on YouTube, just twiddle your thumbs for a minute. And I'm back. Where'd I get to? Yeah, so the spiral can also represent transformation, because the very nature of things, the cyclical nature of things, or the spiracular, there you go, I made up a new word, the spiracular nature of things is always moving. It's always moving. So a circle is just a part of a spiral, yeah, because the spiral never stops, it just keeps moving, yeah. So technically it's not a cycle of life, it's a spiral of life, yeah. So it brings transformation, because things go round and they have different energies at different points when they're going round and down or up. Yeah, and I'll get to that a bit later as well. So there's big transformation in the symbol of the spiral. Yeah. It also represents power. It's a very powerful energy that the spiral brings, but it's also a very powerful symbol. You've only got to look at, I don't know if you guys remember, Walt Disney's The Jungle Book, the original film, the original animated film. Yeah, because I don't know about any of the other ones. I don't know. I haven't seen them. But the snake, can't remember the snake's name. But what do his eyes do? They spiral, don't they? And they hypnotize Mowgli. It's a spiral. That is the power of the spiral. Amazing. What it also connects to is your inner wisdom. So the center of that spiral is the you, the who am I am, yeah, which then radiates out, or you can bring it back in. And again, I'll get onto that later in regards to magic work. And what does the spiral denote? It tells you absolutely that everything's infinite. It's an infinite moving spiral, which might look like a circle. In fact, when you draw a spiral on a piece of paper, and you're going to carve it into rock, of course, it looks like a circle, doesn't it? It does look circly. But if you were to get a piece of paper and cut out a spiral and then hold the center, it'll show you its 3D-ness, if that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense. Which is what a spiral is. It's not flat, yeah. So in the West, the Diacetyl spiral, so the clockwise spiral, is also connected to the water elemental and the power of water and the power of the movement of water, which I thought was quite interesting. From a magical perspective, and in the work that we've done with spirals in our magical workings, because I didn't know that. I did not know that. This is something, I've got some big old books on symbols, so I was going through them this afternoon just to, just a little bit of research and see if there was, could it give me any information that wasn't in here before, and absolutely they did. Excuse me. So you not only have single spirals in a lot of the artwork, yeah, you also have double and triple spirals. So the double spiral denotes the equinoxes, and the dual center. I'm just reading my notes, can't read my writing. Oh, right. And yeah, sorry. The dual centered spirals, like the yin yang, which is technically a spiral, yeah, denotes the duality and balance of nature. It's fascinating, isn't it? I find this fascinating. And then you've got the spiral with a triple center. So it has one point in the middle, and you might already know what this is called. And then it has 3 spirals coming out, which is Trinity. That's not what I've got on my hand. But that's called a Triskelion, which is really cool. And get this, right? I didn't know this. The naughty monks, naughty Christian monks, doing their writing on their scrolls, nicked the Triskelion. Bear with me, it's disconnected again. There's
I think
obviously
I
some
think we
magic.
looked at the gods there. You got up to those naughty Christian monks, and then you went quiet.
Yeah, they don't like it when I say things like that, do they? Naughty Christian monks who nicked the Triskelion and put it on their scrolls. It's like, okay, carry on. But they also began to put it on the edges of tapestries and printed on cloth as protection, because the spiral is also very protective, especially if you're working on your I am, which will then activate your power, which then radiates out like a wave. Oh, it's gone again. No, there we go. It nearly dropped out, and then it didn't. That's funny. So it is a very powerful protection symbol, the spiral, which is why they were putting it all over their tapestries on the edges and their printed cloth. I find that fascinating. It's like we're Christian, but we're not really. We're actually pagan. In the minds of those people, they were still using those old symbols. It just makes me laugh. It really does. So we know the spiral is in nature. So I mentioned snail shells before, but the other really, I love ferns. Yeah, I love ferns. And you can see before they open up, they're this really tightly wound spiral. And then they gradually open up and do their fern thing, which I love. I'm sure you can think of many other examples of spirals. I think a rose actually has a kind of a spirally thing going on when it's a bud. It's not, the bud isn't like straight up and down. It kind of spirals round, doesn't it? So there we go. The rose is another example. But we also see it in things like whirlwinds, or what do they call them in America? Twisters, whirlpools. Even when you take your plug out of your bath, what are you looking at? A spiral. So you could even say that the spiral has the ability to cleanse things out of your, if you're having a salt bath, for example, that's a cleansing. And when it goes down the plug hole, it does its spirally thing. In fact, it's like a mini whirlpool going down the plug hole. It's really weird. It keeps muting me. That's really strange. Haha. It's because I'm talking about spirals. So the other thing about the spiral, the infinite possibilities that are associated with the spiral, so the way I see that, so you got a spiral, so that keeps going. It never stops, never ever stops. So if you were to make a spiral out of clay or pastry or something, so you got a spiral, and then you cut kind of through the middle of it, and then kind of separate it, and then look, bear with me, this is really funny.
Sandy again.
I do not know what's happening. It's really weird,
isn't it just?
So
one thing I want to just quickly say while you're on about the spirals and where you find them.
Yeah.
On the top of your head.
On the top of your head?
Yes. If you look at the hair when it comes out of your head, in the centre at the back of your head, it's like a spiral.
Yes. 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 Oh wow. Yes, I like that. So if you were to make some kind of 3D spiral out of clay or pastry, and then cut it through the middle, open it up, what it looks like a waveform with the kind of peaks and troughs of a waveform denoted by the lines and the gaps of the spiral. So what does that tell you? Yeah. So if you're doing the who am I? I am, and you are activating your light, your power, whatever you want to call that, that's the middle of the spiral, and it's spiraling out, but it's actually creating a waveform, which is ripples. Ripples, anybody? So when you see ripples in a pond, is it actually circles, or is there a spiral going on there? Just food for thought. So there's all that potential energy that is coming from the center of the spiral, but it's in the actual waveforms itself, for want of a better word. So it radiates out on many different planes. So it radiates out on a 2-dimensional plane, because you can see the ripples, for want of a better word. But it also has that 3-dimensional. So if it's in the water, you can see it on the top of the water, but it's also below the surface of the water. And if you're looking at it from a metaphysical point of view, there is a 4th, maybe 5th dimensional aspect as well, because what is a spiral? It's a portal. I'll get onto that in a little while. How do I know that? Because we've used the spiral quite a lot, actually, in our magical workings. But like I say, I'll get onto that in a minute. Where else do we see this? I was going to say spikel. Spikel? No, spiral. Spikel. I don't even know what that is. In the metaphysical kind of realm is the Kundalini energy spiraled at the base of the spine. It's they talk about it's a snake, a coiled snake energy. But essentially what that is a spiral. It's spiraled up, it's coiled up. Interesting little point here. The Aztec serpent god Quetzalcoatl, he actually has a coat of arms which has 5 spirals contained in a circle. I didn't have time to go and find the image of that, but that sounds pretty amazing, actually. I might actually go and grab it and draw it for myself. Another, some of you might know this, some of you might not. So this is another kind of example of spirals in magic. So we've got the Quetzalcoatl coat of arms, 5 spirals in a circle. But what that really is 5 spirals in a spiral. Also, during the Second World War, because this country was about Hitler crossing the water and getting into this country, there was a very infamous cone of power that I'm going with that. That a bunch of witches, if that's the collective name for witches, it's not, but I'm trying to be funny. They were involved in invoking this cone of power. And legend has it that Aleister Crowley and Gerald Gardner were part of that group of witches who did that work. Wouldn't surprise me. Who knows? Only they know, really. And they're not here anymore. I had to think about that. No, they're not. Well, apart from Aleister Crowley, who's sitting over there. But and they did this to stop Hitler crossing the water. Now, did he cross the water? No. In fact, he got as far as one of the Channel Islands, I think, and then stopped. And for no real reason, because there are lots of concrete bunkers there that they dug and built. But he didn't get any further. I find that quite interesting, actually. But you can certainly go and Google that, the Cone of Power, World War II. Also, where else you see it in the metaphysical workings is the Sufis. Because it might look like they're dancing in a circle, but actually it's a spiral. Yeah. Because if you were just going to dance a circle, you'd go around once and that'd be it. Yeah. That would be it. But they don't. They keep going round and round and round. So what they're creating a spiral. That was weird. Alistair Crowley's talking over there. There's a weird noise over there. So yeah, dancing in a spiral. Even when you cast a circle, if you ever get the chance to do this, it's really, really cool. To cast a circle with other people, you have to do it outside unless you've got a very big room to do it in. And basically you hold each other's hands. Oh, bear with me. He's gone off again. And I'm back. So I was talking about casting a circle with other people. So you all hold hands and you basically, depending which way you're going, Deosil or Widdershins, depending on the work you're doing, and you basically are creating a spiral energy, yeah, in which you then contain your magic. Now, what is amazing about doing it like that is that it's a very visceral experience, because we all know what happens when you go round and round and round and round and round. You get dizzy and you fall down. So things move. You actually can see reality shifting when you, oh, it's a dog, when you cast a circle in that way. So it's, you know, that there are so many ways to use spirals, spiral energy, the idea, the symbolism of spirals in your magical workings. So how have we used spirals in our magic work? So, little rule of thumb, there aren't many rules in witchcraft and magic. But I'd say one of them is, if you're going for expansion energy, then you always work your spiral or your circle Deosil, yeah? If you are working on the going more inward energy, then you work your circle or your spiral Widdershins, yeah? So, for example, on a new moon or a full moon, generally speaking, depending on what you're doing, we would cast a circle or a spiral, or a circle being part of a spiral, in a Deosil direction, generally speaking, yeah? If it's a dark moon, then Widdershins to facilitate that inner journey. So we have, so that's a basic kind of format for that, yeah? But we've also used the symbolism of the spiral in more complex magical workings. Not casting a circle, but casting a compass, which is a very different being to work with, for want of a better word. So the intention when you cast a compass instead of a circle is, in that magical working, you can go up up to the higher realms, which is the Geosil spiral. That's the word I was looking for. And then you can come back to the physical plane, and then you can go Widdershins down into the lower realms, depending on what kind of work you're doing. So the higher realms would be to do with your higher chakras. The lower realms is very kind of earth magic, fairy, the underworld kind of magic. I have drawn a little thing, but obviously if you're listening, then you won't see it. But I'm just going to show that so there we go. So that's the spiral going up and the spiral going down. It is really interesting to work with that kind of it's I don't know how to describe it. It's proper high magic. It's quite interesting. And if you add a hagstone in the middle, so the whole faces east and west, you can come up to the middle plane and then go east and west. You've actually got a Wonkavator. So you can go up and down, left and right. It's a Wonkavator. A metaphysical Wonkavator. It's very cool. So you could do all kinds of magical workings when you cast a compass like that, as opposed to just casting a circle. We've also used the spiral in some very cool portal work, which we've done. We've done it just myself and Ian, and we've done it in a very small group as well. Oh, blimey, I can't remember when that was. Was that last year? I think that was last year on one of the. Was it this year? Do you know? I can't remember. It was one of the big portals. Here we go again. Bear with me, guys. It doesn't like me talking about portals now. I was talking about portals and it went, oh no, don't talk about that. Mustn't talk about portals. So one of the things I did when we were doing this portal work with the spiral, specifically with the spiral, and it goes, so let me think. So it goes from it goes out. So it's a Widdershin spiral. So it's going down into the earth. Think of it like turning a screw. So it can go down and it can go up. Yeah. And there we go. It's even in DIY. You've got a spiral. Yeah. So what I did, I drew a spiral because I draw things in chalk on our carpet. I don't care. I can still see the outline. Now and again, I catch the outline of the spiral. Even though I rubbed it out, it's still there. Yeah. Waiting to be activated. So I drew this spiral in chalk on our floor, which is really difficult to do freehand. It's like because we had to walk it as well. That's one of the things that we did when we've done it just myself and Ian, and we did it in a group. You have to walk the spiral, so the lines have got to be far enough apart for someone to walk it, and yet we don't have a very big room. So, but you still want the experience of walking the spiral. So it was really hard to get it just right and fit for the magical work. Yeah. And that was a really interesting experience. I think that was I'm pretty sure that was dark moon workings we were doing, because we were doing a banishing, like getting rid of anything that didn't serve us anymore, which was really cool, actually. And that's the thing, when you're working with like portal energy, spiral energy on a dark moon, that's really, really powerful magic. And I love it. I love the experiment. It's very cool. You can also work the spiral with moon phases. So I was talking about the full moon, the new moon, which, you know, that would have a Deosil spiral coming from the middle, because it's the expansion energy. So with the one that we did in the group, because that was a dark moon, we went from the outside Widdershins round to the middle, because that's the reducing energy. That's the energy of retraction, if you like, coming into the self to then, you know, okay, ask that question, what am I carrying that I don't need anymore, and then getting rid of it. And then we come out, yeah, the other way from the middle out. It was quite amazing work, actually. So yeah, you can work the spiral with moon phases. So full moon, dark moon, I've just explained, but you can also use it for, you know, when the moon is waxing or waning. So if it's waning, here we go again. It just muted me. That was really weird. So if it's a waning moon, you would use a Widdershin circle, a reducing circle, because that's what the moon's doing. So you're tying your magic work into a moon phase. Yeah. And the opposite is true for, you know, a waxing moon. You would tie it into a Deosil spiral with the expansion energy. And you could do the same if you were using any of the other planetary bodies that we have. Pardon me, that, you know, that we are closely related to, tied to, related, tied, whatever. So obviously, so the Wheel of the Year is a big one with the spirals. As is, like, all the, you know, if you go all the way back to when I started, where so Celtic symbols, so when the Celts were using the spiral, very much symbolizing the sun in the equinoxes, you could certainly use the spiral stroke portal energy for any kind of mark in the Wheel of the Year. And obviously sometimes during some I'm losing my words, some times in the Wheel of the Year, that was what I should have said, the veil is going to be thinner, so the portal is going to be more active, or you're going to get more out of it. So Beltane, the solstices, Samhain are the main ones, but there are also other times during the turning of the wheel stroke spiral that you can poke through the veil. One of them is in, I think it's in May. Here we go again. Bear with me. Bear with me. Bear with. That was funny. It really doesn't like me talking about spirals, does it? What was I saying? Yeah, there's a I think it's in May. It's called Lemuria, and it's a Roman festival which is all about the veil is slightly thinner than usual, so you can do a lot of scrying, a lot of mirror magic. So you could certainly bring the spiral into something like that, which is, yeah, pretty cool. You know, you could even tie your working with spiral energy, portal energy, into, you know, some of the other planetary influences, whether they are increasing, whether they are in retrograde. Yeah, and depending where they, you know, oh, this is bear with me. Bear with me. There we go again. So yeah, you can tie in your working with spiral if if this is what you want to do, with different planetary influences, whether they're direct, whether they are retrograde. You know, if you're into astrology, astronomy, where a particular planet is, in the sky, that's not really my bag. I might take what other people say about that, but I never don't work these things out because I have enough going on in my head as it is. But it really does depend on, when you're doing your magical workings, how much detail, how many layers you want in your magical workings. Because sometimes it's good to have that. Sometimes it's good to have many layers that all mesh together and work together and move things forward. Other times, you just want something really, really simple. So I broke my glasses the other day. They're a bit wonky. Other times you want it simple, quick magic. All depending on if you have to respond quickly to a situation, or you can take your time and create your magical working. It depends on the situation. But never forget that your most powerful tool in your magical box is your right forefinger. Yeah. That is the finger with which people used to point and curse with. Yeah. So if you draw a spiral with intention, yeah, so you're channeling your energy, yeah, into creating a spiral with this finger, that is very powerful. Yeah. Hang on, I just got a bit of paper here. Euler. His mathematical equation is to do with sine waves, sine and cosine waves, yeah, which is what, if you create a spiral and then, in a 3D thing and then cut it, what you're seeing is the sine and cosine waves, yeah, which is a spiral. Excuse me. So, I suppose where I would kind of finish with, whether you're keeping your magic simple with a spiral, or you're, having layers of spirally things that all mesh together and move something forward, there are no rules. Yeah. Obviously, there are a couple, if you cast, you close. There was another one, but I can't remember what it was. It's obviously something I do a lot because I don't even think about it. But the other one is, if you are increasing, if you're working on increasing magic, then you're going to go Deosil. If you're working reducing magic, you're going to go Widdershins. That's the moving up and down of things. Oh, here we go again. Bear with me. Oh dear. There we go. So yeah, there are no rules. So yeah, I would love to hear your stories about spirals. I've never been to anywhere as nice as, or as amazing as Newgrange, where you can see the spirals that have been carved into the rock there. I'm not sure actually. In any of the ancient sites I've been to, I'm not sure if I've ever seen any spirals carved into the rock. I can't remember. I'd have to have a think about that. So yeah, if anyone would like to ask me anything about spirals, or share their experiences on spirals, then feel free.
I'll jump in and while, even though we've been interrupted many times throughout this evening's show.
Oh, I know.
Very inspiring.
Very good. Very good. I like that.
No, I can't. Other than the bit that I threw in earlier on about the way that the hair grows out of the back of your head in a spiral. No, I can't think of. I know, isn't it something to do as well? You know, you mentioned about snails and the shell of a snail. Isn't that also part of the Fibonacci sequence of the way that the spiral comes out?
Yeah, it is. The golden mean, I think.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, it's I think that's what so Euler's equation is basically a theory of everything. Euler, spelled E-U-L-E-R. He was a mathematician before his time, before any of these other so-called scientists. I don't know what they call theoretical physicists, all that kind of stuff. And he, he came up with this theory, the theory of energy, I think it was, that everything is a sine and cosine wave. So it's, it's the classic up and down waveform, which, because it goes on forever, where if you then turned it to actually see like an aerial view, you would see a spiral. And I find that quite amazing. So because quite a few years ago, actually, they were talking about string theory, weren't they? String theory was a thing, and then string theory wasn't trendy anymore. So maybe it's actually spiral theory. That everyone's been going on about and didn't actually realise that it was a spiral. Does anyone else want to share anything around spirals?
I'll just take that off for Carly, just in case. Another one is in spiral carpets.
They were a band, weren't they?
I think they were, yeah.
They were a kind of indie band, if I remember right.
That's right. I also see ice cream as well. When you get a Mr. Softy ice cream,
yes,
they always make a swirl, and it's always a spiral, isn't it?
It is. Why is that?
And it helter skelters, because it helps.
Oh, yes.
Prop it up. Helter skelters are a spiral as well, aren't they?
Mm-hmm. Interesting, isn't it? When you really start to think about it, they are everywhere. They're everywhere.
And the other one as well, a line from a film, Prometheus. It's stuck in my mind, and I've never got rid of it. And it's nature never builds in straight lines.
No, she doesn't. I like that. Even some trees, their bark doesn't grow up and down. It's actually chestnut trees do that. They spiral. The bark is twisted. Yeah. It spirals. Fingerprints. You have swirls on your fingers.
Swirled. That's right.
DNA.
And I would. Not that I've seen them in about 50 years, but you've told me of very small things as well. On the underside.
DNA is allegedly a spiral as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I'll tell you where else I've seen spirals as well, on the back of Tobias's bum.
Do it do
two of them.
do we need to know that, Andy?
On where his hind legs are.
Yeah.
You know when people talk about having their back of the dog massaged for whatever reason.
Yeah.
I've looked at the back of Tobias's bum, and he has two spirals on either side. If I ever get the opportunity, what I will do is I'll take a picture. Because he's literally got the hair grows out of either side of his bottom.
Yeah.
The two spiral, one on each side, a spiral swirling out.
Wow.
It's quite fascinating. But he loves them.
Hello?
When I'm scratched until I scratch his bum for him.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Rory, the cat, no spirals. Not that I know of anyway.
I wonder if it's peculiar to dogs then.
The cat across the road, her markings are a bit, always remind me of, you know, like Jam Roly Poly.
Yeah.
Where you it's a bit like that. So the pattern on her side of on Molly's coat is a bit like a spiral in that way as well.
All right.
And of course, a Jam Roly Poly. There we go. There's another
Jam Roly Poly. Absolutely. So, there's a well-known phrase, isn't there? You're spiraling out of control. Now,
yes,
is that a warning from the Christians that you're becoming pagan?
As a to your pagan ancestry, you're spiraling out of control.
Yeah.
You're spiraling out of the control of God.
Well, it makes you wonder, doesn't it?
Angie's gone muted.
That's not me. It keeps doing it to me. It's really weird. Keeps muting me.
Are you aware? This might be slightly on a tangent, but the thought that's been popping in my head recently has been, where does it say that there's only one God? Where's the proof?
I don't know.
Other than one man saying it's so in a book. Where's the proof there's only one? And that's just been in my mind for recently, so I thought I'll throw that out there while I have the opportunity.
I don't know.
Spirals are everywhere, aren't they? And I tell you where else you see spirals. I often see them. You know, at night time when you're walking down the street and there's a street lamp sort of like being obscured by a tree, and it's more apparent in wintertime because obviously there are no leaves on the tree. But when you look up at the light, the tree sort of seems to swirl around the light like it's a spiraling.
All right.
I've noticed that for many years.
Interesting.
I don't know if anybody else. I don't know. Yeah, next time you're out and you see a street lamp, it's sort of like embedded inside a tree that's overgrown it, and there's no leaves on it. And look up at the light. I've always sort of noticed a spiral. I don't know whether that's because of the way the light is being emitted or it just reflects off the branches, but it just gives that illusion of a spiral, circular shape.
That's the tree working its magic.
Yeah. The trees wave at me as well. It's quite. I've noticed that, especially obviously leaves have to be on the tree for this to occur, but individual leaves will flutter, and all the rest of the ones around it just are still. And I'm like, how peculiar is that?
Yes.
Why is that one particular leaf fluttering away?
Yeah.
And then a few feet over, another one's doing it, and a few feet further away, another one's doing it. It's like, why is that?
Well, the way I see that is the trees waving at you, so I wave back.
Yeah.
I got another one. Vincent van Gogh painted in spirals.
Ah, right.
So was he seeing something like he was seeing a layer of something that most people don't see? Was he seeing the nature of reality as it really is, which is spirals? interesting.
Yeah. Very interesting.
It's just fascinating. I mean, even something like a raffia coaster, yeah. So that weave work, yeah, is done in a spiral.
Yeah.
It's done in a spiral.
Yeah, wicked coasters. Yeah.
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 I'm trying to think of other ones. It's just that they're coming thick and fast now, aren't they? They're everywhere. I mean, even so, when a spider weaves a web, it is a spiral.
It does, yeah. Once it's got the long lengthy things and it gets fixed, it literally goes round in a spiral, doesn't it? From either the outside in or the inside out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does. Oh, excuse me. I didn't sneeze in a spiral. Thank you. That wasn't a spiral sneeze. Yeah, it's quite fascinating. So I'm sitting there thinking now, it's like, how many more spirals can we think about? But it's amazing that they are just everywhere. It's fascinating.
Indeed.
I mean, have you ever seen, Andy, any like ancient sites? Have you ever been to any ancient sites where there are actually spirals carved in the rock?
No, I haven't. No,
I
I've seen
haven't.
Photographs of them.
Yeah.
And things, but I've never personally experienced that. The nearest I've got to that are that there's a stone circle with a fire pit at the centre of it, just up the road from where I live. But it's not a spiral. It's literally, well, I suppose it's in its circumference. It's a circle, but to get to the centre where the fire pit is, you've got to walk in a sort of maze type walk, which is, I suppose, in itself a spiral. Because you're not walking directly to the centre. You're walking around.
Yeah.
To get to so yeah, that's a mini spiral in itself.
Oh wow, that's very cool. That's very cool.
But yeah, no, I don't. Did you mention cones as well? You mentioned cones earlier, didn't you?
I didn't mention pine cones, no.
No, I'm sure. So I've heard someone mention pine cones, but they have a spiral pattern.
Yeah.
When around the outside.
Yeah, they do. There are so many, aren't there? It's quite amazing.
Cotton wool balls. Not cotton wool balls. Wool balls. When you're knitting.
Yes.
They're
spiral. Yeah.
Yeah. And when you eat pasta, when you eat spaghetti, they're always.
Yeah, when you wind it. Yeah, you wind it on your fork. You create a spiral. It's amazing, isn't it? It's amazing. I love it.
Well,
lost you there, Andy?
I'm in a few words because it's 7 o'clock now.
Yeah.
And then you can stop the recording. And if you want to stick around for a quick chat afterwards, well, yeah, feel free.
Okie dokie. Yeah, that's